Adam, and let me tell you first how pleased I am to have you on the Money Principle. So, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, Maria.
It's my pleasure. Now, Adam, you're the CEO of Scalable Capital. Can you please tell my people what is Scalable Capital and what does it do?
Yeah, sure. So Scalable Capital is we call ourselves a digital wealth manager. What we essentially do is we provide investment management, but digitally, so online and through our mobile apps. And we do it for UK investors, but also for European investors, as we have a regulated entity in Germany. So we're kind of one of the few players in the market that is cross-border. So we have UK clients and we have German and Austrian clients currently as well. And what we're looking to do is build long-term, globally diversified portfolios for our clients, so they can really build their wealth for their future. That's in essence what we're trying to do. And we can probably get into some detail about what makes us different. But I'll let you ask your next question. Yeah. See where we go.
And I would like to ask you, what is the unique value that you offer investors?
Sure. So what we're trying to build is a platform which doesn't just use technology to make the investment journey more convenient and more accessible, having a smooth customer journey, having a low minimum. We're using technology to really improve the investment methodology as well.
Thank you. Now, I don't know whether you realize that, but one of the things that I'm trying to do on the Money Principle is actually to encourage more people to invest, and particularly women.
Sure.
Because there is a problem with women, the way I put it. When we invest, we really rock, but unfortunately, very few of us invest. So, how easy would you say is it for a beginner to open an account on your site?
Sure. So I totally believe in what you're trying to do there as well, because if you look at the data, there are big problems trying to get women to invest, and we hopefully form part of that solution, and I'll address why I think that is. But yeah, I think it is easy. So we have a minimum investment amount of £10,000. So that's a hurdle that you have to reach already. That's because of the way that we do our risk management system. We need £10,000 to be able to do that in a robust way. But the onboarding is very simple. The market is complicated and complex, and we model it in a complex way. But at the end of the day, we're doing everything for you. So, and it's the same as when you go to see a car mechanic. You buy a car. Do you really understand how the engine works? Probably not. And if you have any problems with it, you go and see a mechanic. And this is the same way that people need to think about their finances. The markets are complicated, so they should outsource it to somebody who's doing something very, very smart in terms of trying to model the markets. But everything is done for you. When you go through the onboarding, obviously there's a short questionnaire which helps guide you into the risk categories which are most appropriate for you. Our clients can get onboarded within 15 minutes. And we provide a lot of information on the way to help people to work out if this is something for them. So obviously there's the website, which uses building blocks to try and start relatively simple, but then gets into the detail for people that really care for the detail. There's even a 35-page investment strategy white paper in the footer. Not everyone's reading it, but there's a lot of people out there who really enjoy reading it because that's what they like to do. But furthermore, we host webinars, regular webinars, where people can ask anything. And I try to present a little bit about the company and talk a bit about the model, usually in plain English. And then we also host investment seminars. So if you go to our website, there's actually a banner at the top where you can sign up and you can come and meet the team in person. Because, the computer is used to improve things that humans are not very good at, which is number crunching in a very quick and efficient way and removing emotion. But we have a team of 45 people who are, providing client services, monitoring the investment methodology. They're real people here. So I think people need to it needs to be made clear to people that it's a digital proposition, but it doesn't mean that there are not people behind it.
Thank you. Now, I may as well tell you that I'm a great admirer, great fan of Nutmeg. I have been investing with them from the moment they started, actually. So, can you tell my tribe again, how do you see the main differences between you and Nutmeg?
Yeah, sure. And I have a lot of respect for Nutmeg. I know the team there very well. We differ in kind of one main way, which obviously we've already covered a little bit, which is the way that we invest money. So we take a risk targeted approach. So by focusing on risk, and especially downside risk, by focusing on the amount that you may lose in a bad year and dynamically changing the asset allocation over time to make sure that the risk remains constant, we're trying to keep you invested for as long as possible so that you can sleep better at night. So the idea behind using a risk-targeted approach versus a kind of a fixed asset allocation, or even a human who's making the trade, buying and selling decisions themselves, is what really sets us apart from everybody. We're both low cost, we're both very convenient, we both have apps, we're both trying to do good things, and there are many other options that you could pick out there, which I think which I wouldn't recommend. But I think that's the investment methodology which really differentiates us from each other.
Okay, thank you. And now I would like to tell you that I actually opened an account with Scalable Capital. And probably my £10,000 is getting there as we speak, because it takes a couple of days, so it's on its way, so to speak. But I intend to have a little race and pitch you against Nutmeg. So who would you put your money on, Nutmeg or Scalable Capital?
That's a loaded question, I think. No, it's an interesting one, and funny enough, no one is really doing this right now. It's like I said actually earlier in the call, no one's looking under the hood. A lot of people comparing services, what does it look like, what does it feel like, but no one's really looking, okay, what are they doing? And that's obviously one way that you could do that. I would actually add a third instrument into the race as well. I would do something like a kind of a FTSE 100 tracker and compare the three services. And what
no?
Yeah, something like I don't want. Like that. I'm not going to recommend.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just checking what you mean. Yes.
Exactly.
Investment vehicle. Yes.
Exactly, and see how the three services perform. Where I think you'll see a difference is, it's really hard to compare performance in short periods of time, because it can take several years for a benefit of a certain investment strategy to show itself versus another. For example, in an up market, in a strategy where you're allocated 100% to equities, you're going to do very, very well. But in a down market, it's obviously going to do terribly. Yeah, and right. This is when the risk control strategy comes into its own, because on the downside, that's where you have more protection to get you out of the market as things are getting more volatile, to keep you invested for longer. So you really have to go through a full business cycle. Now, if you can kind of, what I think is easier than kind of talking about what's going to happen in the future, because that's very difficult for me to be able to predict with certainty. But let's have a look at the data. So using the data that we have, running all of the simulations that we have, I'm a big fan of this risk controlled element, because one, it shows versus passive and versus active that it can outperform, but also from an emotional standpoint, it hopefully keeps you as an end investor invested for longer. So I like to back the data, so that's where my position would be.
Okay, so basically you're betting on Scalable Capital, and I will let you know in about a year what's happened. Okay?
Perfect. Deal? Sounds like a good idea.
Good. Now, my final question would be, if you have to give one piece of advice to beginning investors, what would it be?
Just one piece of advice. I think start early. The power of compounding is one of the most powerful financial concepts in the world. Getting paid interest or dividends or income streams from investments and letting that compound over time really helps. And the flip side of that is obviously if you're in debt, and you have debt which is compounding against you, and you have to pay interest on that, it also works in the same way. So my biggest advice is, if you have debt, get out of it. But if you have the ability to save, then start. Because at the end of the day, and this is what people forget, investing is like buying your future self, a present. You're not buying something now, but in the future you can buy something nicer. And hopefully, maybe it's not buy something nicer, it's have a great retirement and live a great life. So yeah, start early, I think would be my key advice.
Okay, thank you so much, and all
Thank
the
you, Maria.
best.
Thank you
All
very
the
much.
best for
Great
the
to speak
future.
to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.